Hello again, everybody. It's Harry Boxer, the technical trader at TechTrader.com. It's Tuesday, April the 8th. And these are the charts of the day. Well, folks, extremely negative day today when you see a follow-through burst on the opening with strong futures overnight and then a nasty reversal. Let me just show you the 1 minute chart today. The breakout, the move all the way up to 52.67, and then the drop to 4,900. 360 points. For the S&P in 1 day, that's huge. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 waves down. Futures are lower tonight as well. There's a really strong chance we test the lows at 48, 41. I know that overnight they reached 48.02. That's my line in the sand. We break that, or we're going to probably plunge to 4,600. I can't emphasize to you how disappointing today was for me technically. It doesn't mean we can't double bottom in here and immediately go up, but with future down overnight, it's likely we have a lower low. I'm going to show you tonight the box of shorts list, and you'll see why I'm not extremely negative here because so many stocks are so washed out to the downside. And the oscillators and the tick and a lot of other readings are there, but they're not extremely there. And we may see that tomorrow morning where everybody just throws the baby out with the bathwater. I would love to see that selling climax. We'll see. Let's take a look at what I'm focusing on today. And those are bear ETFs. I want you to see, first of all, oil, bear ETFs. Breakout of this base pattern and the base that was built over the last year and a half was with the breakaway gap yesterday. 2 days ago, sorry. And then a follow through yesterday and another one today, which led to 17. Just in 5 days, we've gone from 10 to 17, a 70% pop, with the price of oil coming down. Now, going back to early 23, we had a spike up in that area. So we may get some follow through tomorrow morning. There is some resistance here. You can see, though, after a long decline and a long base, a breakout here could be significant as oil comes down. For me, secondary target would be a retest of that zone at 23. So I'm looking for a pop towards 19 tomorrow. And if we get really ugly and price of oil gets down dramatically, we might see 23. But the one I prefer is SCO, also coming out of a big base pattern. That's lasted about a year and a half. Gap breakaway, running gap, and a spike up today. It took it from 2083 to 2355. We closed at 2341 up to 36, 11%, trading 2.5 million shares. This could lead to higher levels as well. And I wouldn't be shocked to see a run towards a follow through to 25. And then an extension if that breaks out into the 29 zone. Keep an eye on that. We noted over the weekend that KOLD had a long downtrend, but reversed and broke out on yesterday, and today had a beautiful follow through from 2260 to 2680 and finished 2667, just 13 cents off the high, up to 22, a 9% gain. Line was a solid 11.6 million for that stock. At this point, with a breakout above the moving averages, I'm looking for a run to about 31, maybe 34, and possibly 36 in the next week or two. Maybe the next day or two, the way the market's been going. Big resistance, bigger resistance up here near 41. So look, this is a major breakout. The volume's been strong for 3 days. Keep an eye on that. Biotech's getting thrashed. I wanted you to see the LABU. Absolutely imploding. This is an all-time, folks, ever low for this index. And on big volume too. So on the other hand, with a cluster of volume like this is pretty near a selling climax. And I believe that tomorrow morning, maybe if we do plunge down in the low 30s, a great buy for LABU. Careful though. The LABD is doing the opposite, of course, breaking out with big volume. But where is it? Into a resistance zone. But if it could accelerate, we might see high teens. SOSX also broke out, but this one has been really incredibly volatile. We've traded it a couple times. First of all, the breakout of the base, a little bit of a wedge formed. It spiked out and ran hard. And the last week and a half, this has gone from 22 to 54. That's right, 150%, 53 change. At some key resistance here, but if we do get a follow through, we're looking at high 60s, low 70s potentially. So this should be watched carefully. And today's low would be a stop, but it's way down there. Tough call right now. That's the SOSX. Looking at the SOXL, you'll see why this thing imploded. Now, the semiconductor index, this semiconductor ETF, has gone from 70, right, in July of last year, in 9 months. Today's low 722. Folks, it's lost 90%, 90. 1, 2, if you look at this last sort of waves here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down. Now, again, if we see this in the 5, 6 range, I think it's a buy for a snapback to 10, 11, 12. That's just my take. I could be wrong, and I don't want to buy into it, but I want you guys to be careful. But look for opportunities. The small cap index, the TZA, exploding while the TNA rolls over hard. But take a look at this too. We're certainly at an extreme we haven't seen in 5 years. Can it go lower? Yes. Now that we've broken key support, I would expect to see 16.5 or something like that. But it might be a buy there for a snapback into the low 20s. There's going to be some opportunities ahead, folks. Again, look at the biome on the downside. This is climax type biome. As the TZA blows off into high upper resistance. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 way move up. And an SOXL 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ways down. So I think we're at the point where we're very close to something real extreme, and I hope we can get some real negative tick tomorrow, and and a kind of a spike down, throw the baby out with the bathwater. Today's reversal was very negative. Now there's a possibility it's performed after resistance. I don't think that's the case right now. They probably make a lower low first before they can reverse it. The obvious first target could be somewhere around 10 3/4, 11. But I'm looking to buy it around 6 3/4 or thereabout. We'll see if that occurs. The UBIX, UBXY, which I've been trading. Look at that reversal bar today. Wow. 34 to 53, 19 points today on the UBXY. Sorry I wasn't in the room today. That really disappoints me because we would have been all over that. Maybe a follow through to 60, 65 range. We'll see. If tomorrow morning brings that, I would be exiting there and going long the SVXY, which has plummeted from 49 to 33 and is due for a snapback to at least test resistance up around 39.40. So let's see if we can get this one down towards 30.31, maybe get a nice reversal. It's similar to what we had here when it plunged and popped. All right, we'll see. Lastly, the Chinese markets are getting hammered as well. The Yang spiking. This is the bear ETF, the triple bear. There's a possibility we see a spike up that goes into the 80s from 69.80. The yin, opposite, you can see has really plunged after it broke some key support right there. It plummeted with a breakaway gap. It's now dropped from 53 to 21 in 3 weeks. And it's plunged underneath support lows, but it's right at a level that we've seen before down here. Well, not at yet. If we get a follow through towards 19 tomorrow, that could be a really good buy for the yen as well. We'll see. I'm not sure China's going to be bouncing as good as the US could. Well, that's it for now. I do want to show you the indices themselves. S&P 500, 1, 2, and then make this a 3, 4. But most people that I talk to think this is a 1, 2, 3. And we can back and fill and move it back up towards 5,400. Maybe fill that gap and then come down. We could have a 5th wave down too. But this is extreme, folks. Look at the biome on the downside too. Last time we had this kind of roll over here was when we had the COVID crash. And if you look at the long term, we are still in a massive major uptrend. Even if you take this and put it there, we're right on a key level here. Now the downside, my opinion, would be around 4,600. Well, yeah, before we bounce, of course, but I am looking for a bounce. The market is extremely oversold. I'm not seeing it as much on the oscillator, but it's getting worse. Take a look. McClellan down to 170 today. We haven't seen that in 6 weeks. But typically, we've seen some major lows down around 274, 247, 252, 225, 237. So I need something down a little bit deeper than this. And tomorrow morning, if we get it move down in the 220.50 range, that's where I'd be more inclined. If you see a big negative tick as well in the 14, 15, 1600 range, if we can get that, it'd be nice to just wash them out, turn it around. So this is what the S&P looks like, and you can see we're at extremes to the downside. Nasdaq 100 as well has now dropped from 22,222 to 16,500, 5,700 points. It's about 25% on the Nasdaq 100 in let's call it 8-9 weeks. There's a daily. Plunge City spiked yesterday and then come down again. So what's going to happen with yesterday's low at 16.5? Well, if we can plunge into the high 15s, like 15.8, that could be a really overly stretched to the downside type number. Watch tomorrow morning carefully. I just want to reiterate that the futures at this point, hold on while I check them again, are off 162 and 42. That's a bit of an improvement, actually. It was down to 211 and about, oh, there we go. We're down 300 now and 77. So it's going to be a follow through to the downside tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. That's the NDX. The IWM small cap index, you can see it also has plunged to a point where we're at some key support, but the triple bottom comes in lower. Wouldn't you love to see it follow through to get this down to 162.3? I would. If we see that kind of move tomorrow, it's a screaming buy for me. And then we have the transportation index, and I've been telling you all along that the IWM had a 1, 2, 3, 4, and that a fifth wave was due, and we got one, indeed. Same with the transportation index. Check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 plunges it to a level we haven't seen since October of 22, and we may get to tomorrow morning. Let's see if we can get anywhere near 12,000. I'm going to show you some shorts. I want you to see that, but before I do that, just a quick look at the Nasdaq 100 components. Apple led the way down with a real plunge this week. Look at this. 225 to 169, folks. That fast. Big volume cluster. Amazon, at least that bounced yesterday, although look at the reversal down today after getting into that gap. Let's see if Amazon holds tomorrow at 161 or so. It may not. If it gets into the high 150s, it may also be an interesting buy there. Google, you can see an inside day, but a negative one, and multiple ways down. Microsoft, needless to say, it's reversed again with a really negative bar, in my opinion. We might see a move to 337.8 quickly tomorrow morning, and a real plunge would take you down to 310.15 range. Netflix, holding up better than most, but man, that's a massive head and shoulders. The neckline's been broken. Now, it did bounce yesterday and then reversed today. So we'll have to see what this one holds and whether 821 holds as a low. If it doesn't, the next support's around 795, 800. Meta's been coming down hard and reversed. Again, the low yesterday needs to be watched carefully. That comes in around 482. The plunge low below that would be down around 460, 62. NVDA, Might be a real interesting buy coming down here if we can see this plunge below the low. We had a nice, really big up bar yesterday, reversal bar, but it didn't follow through much more than there. Right to resistance. Notice this low and that low? We got right up to it and reversed. The question is, can they hold and reverse again, or are they going to make lower lows? Well, where would NVIDIA go if it does that? Let's go look at a weekly. You see the potential for NVIDIA to get slam dunked all the way down into the high 70s. I got to tell you, folks, if a growth stock like NVIDIA can get down in the 70s from 153 and be cut in half, then we might have some capitulation at that point. We'll see. That would be a bargain. And then Tesla, which has been really under pressure anyway for weeks. Take a look at this. Since December, when it was 488, it's dropped down to 217. And in danger, if it breaks here, you might see 190, 195, by which point I think it's a better buy. Big volume on the downside the last 3 days, 4 days. Yeah, that's a tough one. Very tough. So that's what the Nasdaq 100 generals look like. That's what the oscillators look like. I also want to point this out. I noticed today that the percentage of stocks above their 40 hit less than 3% today at the low. That may have been yesterday. Yeah, 297. Today was kind of an inside day, but a negative one. If that should plunge near 2 or 1.5, take a look at this. The lowest level we ever reached was in the COVID crash, and that was when it was 1.7%. So we're at 4% now. It means that 96% of stock are below their 40. That's pretty close to capitulation, folks. It's the worst reading in 5 years. So between that and the oscillators, which isn't as deep as I'd like to see, but minus 170 on McClellan, and that. Now take a look at the VIX. Lastly, the VIX exploded to 50. What is it? Did it hit 60? Yes, it hit 60 yesterday at 60.13, and today's high 57.52 and finished 52. If this one should spike above here, we may get it in the 70-80 range. But I'll tell you what, this is fear at its most extreme, and we've only seen a worse reading a couple times in history, back in the financial crisis back in 08, and then the COVID crisis here. Is it possible this goes into the 80s and 90s? Here we hit 77, and I think we hit 84 here. 81 and change. So 81 and 77. Should this spike into the 60s or 70s tomorrow, and you get the oscillators spiking down? We're set up right now for a very important short-term low, at least, maybe a major low, but we can't tell yet. Or this is just the major beginning of a nasty bear market that could last months. When we look at the S&P, and I want to show this to you. Long-term trend showing to me that we're on a really important trend line, but any plunge below that into the 4,600 range, I think you got to snap back. It's just a question of too far, too fast, and you getting ridiculous type prices. Of course, margin calls come into play as well. That's why I don't trade margin, and we don't need to. Not a tech trader. Even today with the market coming down, we've had some pretty good successful trades. Unfortunately, it wasn't there. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Be really careful. You'll hear from me a lot more in the morning about where things are. But for tonight, that's it for the charts of the day. Bye, everybody.